Tonight, as you settle in and prepare for rest, you're about to embark on a journey unlike any other, not across distant lands, but deep into the serene wisdom that has guided seekers of tranquility for centuries. This isn't just a story to be heard, but an experience to be absorbed. As your breathing deepens and your body relaxes, allow yourself to be transported to a place where stillness reigns and every moment holds profound insight, where every challenge, even the daunting ones, holds a hidden lesson. Let go of the day's demands. Release the tension in your being. For the next few hours, you'll discover why ancient teachings emphasize that everything, absolutely everything, contributes to your inner growth. Welcome to the Whispering Pines Sanctuary. Your journey begins now. You open your eyes at dawn in a secluded retreat nestled amidst ancient forests. The air is cool, carrying the scent of dew-kissed earth and distant wildflowers. You've traveled far, seeking solace from a life that feels burdened by unyielding stress. Today, a wise elder has agreed to share profound wisdom with you. As you sit on a comfortable cushion, the elder smiles gently. You seek respite from the relentless pace of life, they say, their voice as comforting as a gentle breeze. What if I told you that true peace is not found by escaping your experiences, but by transforming your relationship with them? The soft murmur of the wind through the pines outside the window is a constant yet ever-changing sound. Like the wind, the elder continues, your mind is in perpetual motion. Yet, within this movement, a deep stillness can be found. This is the truth of inner peace. It is not an absence of sound or thought, but a profound quietude amidst the activity. Your mind drifts to the anxieties that often consume you. Deadlines, expectations, the constant demand for more. The weight of them feels heavy. The elder seems to sense your thoughts. Each moment is an invitation, they explain, as the first rays of sunlight paint the room with gold. Each breath, each sound, each feeling is a fleeting guest. How you greet them determines your inner landscape. You recall hurried mornings, meals eaten without presence, conversations held while minds were elsewhere. The elder's words resonate. Perhaps your life is like a garden, they suggest. What you cultivate with your attention will flourish. The sunlight strengthens, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. The elder's face shows lines of both gentle strength and deep empathy. Tell me, they say, what weighs most heavily on your spirit? You hesitate, gathering your thoughts. Life feels like a constant struggle, you finally reply. I try to find joy, to live meaningfully, yet discontent often finds me. Others who seem carefree appear to thrive. Where is the balance in this? Where is the ease? The elder nods slowly, as if they've heard this question countless times. Perhaps they have. This apparent imbalance troubles many, they acknowledge. It's natural to seek fairness, to desire a path without obstacles. But true balance is found not in the absence of challenges, but in your capacity to navigate them. They rise smoothly despite their age and gesture for you to follow. Walk with me. Some truths are better understood in motion. You follow them. Through an archway into a tranquil stone courtyard, where pathways wind between carefully arranged plants and calming water features. A small waterfall creates a soft, continuous sound, a gentle reminder of constant flow. Life is governed by natural rhythms, the elder explains as you walk. Just as there are physical laws that govern the seasons, there are inner laws that govern our experiences. We are not separate from this grand design. The courtyard opens onto a small clearing where ancient trees stand tall, their branches reaching towards the sky. The air here feels particularly pure. alive with the energy of growth and stillness. The most fundamental of these rhythms is that of unfolding, the elder continues, leading you along a moss-covered path. Every experience unfolds from prior conditions. Every challenge holds the seed of growth. Nothing appears without a reason. You've often wished for different circumstances, for an easier path. You ask, is our journey predetermined? The elder shakes their head, stopping beside a still pool. They pick up a fallen leaf, its veins intricate and delicate, and gently place it on the water's surface. The leaf drifts slowly across the pond. Your journey is not predetermined, they explain. It is the natural unfolding of your choices and responses within the flow of existence. The leaf moves not because the water dictates its exact destination, but because of the current, the wind, and its own inherent lightness. Our choices create ripples in the same way. They take your hand and place a smooth, small stone in your palm. Throw this stone into the water and try to stop the ripples from spreading. You smile at the impossible request, but drop the stone. Anyway, circular ripples spread across the water's surface just as before. You cannot change the natural law of ripples, the elder says. Similarly, you cannot change the law that your choices have consequences, but unlike the stone, you can choose which actions to take. This choice is your power. The concept begins to take shape in your mind, not a rigid fate controlling your life, but a dynamic interplay of actions and reactions, many initiated by your own awareness. If this unfolding is real, you ask, why don't we see immediate peace from our good intentions? Why do considerate people sometimes struggle while thoughtless people appear content? The elder rises again and leads you further along the path. Unfolding does not always reveal itself immediately, they explain. Some seeds sprout quickly, others take seasons to bear fruit. The web of conditions is vast and intricate, stretching across time in ways our limited perspective cannot fully perceive. You pass a section where younger apprentices are carefully tending to new saplings. Their hands move with deliberate care, aware that how they nurture these young plants now will affect their growth for many years. Like these tenders, the elder continues, we are constantly planting seeds through our actions, our words, and even our thoughts. Some will bear fruit quickly, others may take years to mature, but nothing is lost in the grand unfolding. This perspective shifts something in your understanding. Perhaps life's apparent struggles are simply the result of conditions too distant or complex for you to trace with your limited view. Think of your journey as cultivating a garden where some plants blossom in days, others in seasons, and some over many years, the elder explains. A gardener who plants many varieties might be surprised by what emerges each day, yet nothing grows that wasn't planted. The path leads to a small, open-air pavilion overlooking the valley below. The sanctuary rests on the hillside like a haven, offering breathtaking views of the world beyond. You sit together on a simple wooden bench. The world spreads out at your feet. From here we can see far, the elder observes. Villages, fields, rivers, forests, all connected in a living system. Yet even this expanded view is limited. We cannot see beyond the horizon or into the heart of the mountain. Our perspective on life is similarly limited. A cool mountain breeze carries the scent of pine and distant rain. You breathe deeply, feeling something begin to unwind inside you, a tension perhaps carried so long you'd forgotten it was there. From our limited vantage point, the elder continues, life often seems random or unfair. We see a fragment of the pattern and mistake it for the whole. We experience an outcome without recognizing its prior conditions, or initiate a condition, without living to see its full unfolding. Birds soar in the valley below, riding invisible currents with effortless grace. They neither fight against the wind nor try to control it. They simply understand its nature and move with it. These teachings invite us to expand our perspective, the elder says, to recognize that our individual life is part of a vast, interconnected web of conditions stretching far beyond what we can perceive. Nothing happens in isolation. Everything is connected. You watch clouds casting moving shadows across the valley floor, a perfect visual metaphor for how conditions constantly change. This understanding does not remove life's challenges, the elder acknowledges, but it transforms how we experience them. Instead of seeing difficulties as random misfortunes or meaningless suffering, we recognize them as the natural unfolding of conditions, many initiated by our own past choices. A memory surfaces, a demanding project that brought immense stress, but ultimately led to significant personal growth. At the time, the struggle felt overwhelming. Now you can recognize the chain of events that led naturally to that valuable outcome. When we understand this unfolding, the elder says, watching your realization, we stop seeing ourselves as victims of random fate and recognize our role in cultivating our experiences. This is not about blame, but about empowerment. If we have contributed to our present circumstances through past choices, we can cultivate different future circumstances through present choices. The liberation in this perspective dawns on you. Life's challenges are not meaningless burdens, but the natural consequences of conditions. And if you can understand these conditions, you can plant different seeds for the future. Everything contributes to your growth, the elder reiterates, not because some divine plan dictates it, but because existence operates through this elegant law of cause and effect. Nothing is random, nothing is wasted. Every experience carries meaning and purpose if we have eyes to see it. As midday approaches, the sanctuary bell rings, its clear tone resonating through the mountain air. The sound seems to both emerge from and return to silence, a beautiful demonstration of the principle being discussed. That bell signals our midday meal, the elder explains. Come, let's join the others. Eating mindfully is another opportunity to understand these teachings through direct experience. You walk together down stone steps leading back to the main sanctuary buildings. Retreatants gather from various areas, gardens, workshops, meditation halls, converging on the simple dining hall with unhurried purpose. Inside, low tables are arranged in neat rows. People sit on cushions before simple settings, a bowl, a cup, chopsticks wrapped in cloth. You're guided to a place along one wall where you can observe the ritual about to unfold. Once all are seated, a palpable silence falls. No one reaches for food, though steam rises temptingly from pots at the center of each table. The head elder recites a brief chant which the others join, voices blending in practiced harmony. This chant expresses gratitude, your teacher explains quietly when it concludes. Gratitude for the food, for those who cultivated it, transported it, prepared it, and served it, recognizing the vast web of conditions that brings even this simple meal to us. Only then does the serving begin, an orderly, mindful process. Each person receives the same modest portions in their bowl. No one begins eating until all are served. Before we eat, the elder instructs you, look deeply at your food. Consider its journey. The seed that grew with the help of sun and rain. The farmer who tended and harvested it. The many hands that brought it here. See the entire universe in your bowl. You look at your simple meal with new eyes. Rice, vegetables, a small portion of lentils. Indeed, when you consider everything required to create this food and bring it before you, it becomes extraordinary. Sunlight transformed through photosynthesis into nourishment, rain that fell because of complex weather, patterns, countless beings whose work contributed to this moment. Now eat with full awareness, the elder suggests. Notice the texture, temperature, and flavor of each bite. Chew slowly, experiencing the food completely. This is mindfulness, being fully present with what is. The dining hall remains quiet, except for the subtle sounds of eating. No conversation, no distraction, just complete presence with the act of nourishment. You try to follow this example, surprised at how different food tastes when given your full attention. Flavors seem more vivid, textures more interesting. Even simple rice becomes complex and satisfying when not eaten on autopilot. This mindful eating, the elder explains between careful bites, demonstrates another aspect of profound wisdom. When we are fully present, we discover that ordinary experiences contain extraordinary depth. The present moment, fully experienced, is infinitely rich. You notice how different this feels from your usual meals, often eaten quickly while distracted by screens, conversations, or thoughts about past and future. How much richness have you missed by not being present? Many people rush through life never fully experiencing it, the elder observes. They are physically present for countless precious moments, but mentally absent, lost in thoughts about the past or future. Mindfulness brings you back to the only moment that truly exists. Now, as the meal concludes, each person cleans their bowl with a piece of pickled vegetable, then wipes it clean with a cloth. Not a grain of rice is wasted. Even the washing water will be poured into the garden. Everything has purpose in this mindful ecosystem. In mindfulness practice, the elder explains, as you follow these cleaning rituals, we discover that life's meaning isn't hidden in some grand future achievement or past glory. It's found in the depth of our presence with what is happening right now. After the meal, while most retreatants return to their various duties, your teacher invites you to the meditation hall. Unlike the bustling activity of morning and mealtime, the large hall is nearly empty now, a peaceful space for afternoon practice. Meditation is central to understanding these teachings, the elder explains, as you settle onto cushions facing one another, not as an intellectual exercise, but as direct experience. Sunlight filters through paper windows, creating a soft, diffuse illumination. The hall smells of polished wood and subtle incense. Outside, birds call occasionally, but the primary sensation is one of profound stillness. Proper posture helps. Calm the mind, they instruct. Sit with your back straight, but not rigid, like a mountain, dignified and stable. Rest your hands in your lap or on your knees. Lower your gaze or close your eyes if that's more comfortable. You adjust your position following their guidance, surprised at how such simple adjustments create a feeling of alertness combined with ease. Now, bring your attention to your breath, they continue, their voice soft yet clear. Not controlling it, just observing the natural rhythm. Feel the sensations of breathing, the air moving through your nostrils, the rising and falling of your chest and abdomen. You follow these instructions, noticing how difficult it is to keep attention on something so simple. Your mind wants to wander, planning future activities, replaying past conversations, analyzing, judging, daydreaming. The elder seems to read your thoughts. Each time you notice your mind has wandered, gently bring your attention back to your breath. This returning is the practice. Every time you notice distraction and come back, you're strengthening your mindfulness muscle. You practice for several minutes, repeatedly catching your mind wandering and returning to breath awareness. It's humbling to realize how rarely your mind stays where you direct it. The untrained mind is like a wild river, the elder explains. Powerful but uncontrolled, causing erosion even when it means well. Meditation is how we gradually guide this river, training it to flow beneficially rather than haphazardly. A distant sound outside the hall momentarily captures your attention. The elder smiles. Notice how easily distractions pull you away. This is normal. The mind naturally moves toward what's novel or potentially threatening. With practice, you'll develop the ability to acknowledge distractions without being captured by them. You return to your breath now, noticing subtle details. The slight pause between inhale and exhale, the cooling sensation of air entering your nostrils, the warming as it leaves. As concentration deepens, the elder says after some time, you begin to observe not just the breath, but the nature of experience itself. You notice how sensations, thoughts, and emotions arise, exist for a time, then pass away. Nothing stays fixed. Everything is in constant flux. This observation connects to your earlier discussions about the natural rhythms of unfolding. You can see it now in your own direct experience, how each breath, each thought, each sensation appears and disappears like waves on the surface of a vast ocean. This direct perception of impermanence, the elder continues, is crucial to understanding why everything contributes to your growth. When you see clearly how one thing leads to another in the stream of your own consciousness, you begin to recognize this pattern in all of existence. A thought arises. Perhaps your entire life follows this same pattern of conditions flowing together, creating the present moment that will in turn condition what comes next. Exactly, the elder says again, seeming to read your mind. Your life unfolds according to this same natural law. Each moment arises because of countless conditions coming together. Nothing happens randomly. Everything has a reason, a set of conditions that brought it into being. You sit with this understanding, feeling it settle not just as an intellectual concept, but as a felt reality. Your current situation, sitting in this sanctuary seeking these teachings, didn't happen by chance, but resulted from countless prior choices, experiences, and conditions, all flowing together to create this moment. As you continue meditating, the elder instructs, expand your awareness beyond the breath to include your body, sensations, emotions, thoughts, and eventually the environment around you. Observe how all these aspects of experience arise and pass according to conditions. You practice this wider awareness, noticing the subtle interplay of experience, how a sound triggers a thought, which prompts an emotion, which creates a physical sensation, all flowing into one another like tributary streams joining a river. This interconnected flow, the elder explains, is what teachings call dependent arising, the understanding that everything arises in dependence on multiple conditions. Nothing exists independently. Nothing happens without reason. As your meditation deepens, time seems to stretch and contract in unusual ways. What might be minutes feels like hours. What might be an hour passes in what seems like moments. This too is part of the teaching, the elder says, how even our perception of time is conditioned rather than absolute. Eventually, the elder gently brings the session to a close. Enough for now, they say. The body needs movement after stillness. Let's walk in the garden and continue our exploration. You rise, noticing a slight stiffness in your legs, but also a peculiar clarity in your mind. Colors seem more vivid, sounds more distinct. The simple act of walking feels new when approached with full awareness. Outside, afternoon sun warms the stone pathways. The sanctuary gardens are meticulously maintained, not in a rigidly controlled manner, but in a way that works with nature rather than imposing upon it. These gardens demonstrate another aspect of profound wisdom, the elder explains as you walk. The tenders don't fight against the natural tendencies of the plants or the conditions of the terrain. They understand these factors and work with them. You pass a gracefully twisted tree that has been carefully pruned over decades to accentuate, rather than correct its natural inclination to grow sideways from the rocky soil. This is the middle way that wisdom teaches, they continue, not forcing reality to meet our demands, not passively surrendering to conditions, but skillfully working with what is. The garden path leads to a small pond where water lilies float on the surface. Some are fully bloomed in magnificent displays of pink and white. Others remain tightly closed buds. Still others are just beginning to open. The water lily is a perfect symbol for the path of awakening, the elder says, stopping beside the pond. It grows from the mud at the bottom, rises through murky water, and blooms immaculately on the surface. Similarly, our inner peace emerges from the very conditions of our ordinary lives, including difficulties and suffering. You watch a dragonfly land delicately on a lily pad, creating the slightest dimple in the water's surface, which sends tiny ripples outward. Another demonstration of how all things affect one another, the elder observes. Which brings us to another essential teaching, the purpose of understanding that everything contributes to your growth. They find a bench nearby where you both sit overlooking the pond. The afternoon light has that golden quality that photographers call the magic hour, casting everything in a warm glow. Many people, when first hearing about cause and effect, become anxious, the elder explains. They worry about past mistakes creating future suffering. They try to control every action, fearful of negative consequences. But this misses the deeper purpose of the teaching. A gentle breeze stirs the surface of the pond, creating dancing patterns of light and shadow. The purpose isn't to make you afraid or to create another burden of perfectionism, the elder continues. It's to empower you with the understanding that you participate in cultivating your reality, that many aspects of your experience, especially your responses to what happens, remain within your choice. You consider this perspective, not cause and effect as cosmic punishment, but as a natural law that, once understood, can be worked with skillfully. When difficulties arise, and they will, this understanding helps you respond with greater wisdom, the elder explains. Instead of asking, "Why me?" or "How can I escape this?" you can ask, "What can I learn from this? And how can I respond in a way that cultivates more positive conditions moving forward?" You think about challenges in your own life and how different they might appear when viewed not as random misfortunes, but as the natural consequences of conditions, many of which you participated in creating. This doesn't mean blaming yourself for suffering, the elder emphasizes, noting your thoughtful expression. Self-blame is just another form of self-grasping. Rather, it means recognizing your power to plant different seeds now, cultivating different future conditions. A frog jumps from the bank into the pond with a small splash, disappearing beneath the surface. Circles ripple outward from the point of entry, gradually expanding to touch all parts of the pond. See how that small action affects the entire pond, the elder observes. Your actions too create ripples far beyond what you can immediately observe. Understanding this inspires greater mindfulness about the seeds you plant through your choices. As you continue your walk through the sanctuary grounds, you come upon an elderly gardener carefully tending a miniature tree. Their gnarled hands, marked by decades of work, move with surprising delicacy around the small plant. They acknowledge your presence with a slight nod, but remain focused on their task. Your teacher stops to observe the old gardener's work. Brother Chen has been nurturing this particular tree for over 40 years, they explain quietly. Observe their relationship with it, not imposing their will, but deeply understanding the tree's nature and working with it. You watch as the old gardener makes a tiny adjustment to a branch, securing it with almost invisible wire. Their expression shows neither impatience nor hurry, just complete absorption in the present task. This is what profound teachings call right action, your teacher continues, acting with full awareness, understanding conditions, responding to what is with skillful intention rather than habitual reaction. The elderly gardener finishes their adjustment and steps back, studying the tree from different angles before nodding with subtle satisfaction. They notice your interest and beckon you closer. "Would you like to try?" they ask, their voice surprisingly strong despite their age. They offer you a pair of small scissors for precise trimming. You hesitate, afraid of damaging something that has been cultivated for decades. "I don't know how," you admit. The old gardener smiles. "No one does at first. We learn by doing, by making mistakes, by trying again. This too is the way of life." With trepidation, you accept the scissors. The master points to a small shoot growing from the trunk. "This one needs to be removed," they explain. "It disrupts the tree's balance." You carefully position the scissors around the tiny shoot, conscious of both elders watching you. With a small snip, the shoot is removed. The old gardener nods approvingly. "Good. You removed it cleanly without damaging the bark. The tree will heal well." They take back the scissors and bow slightly before returning to their work. As you walk away, your teacher explains that small interaction contains much wisdom. Notice how you were afraid to act for fear of making a mistake. How many opportunities in life have you missed because of similar fear? You reflect on times you've hesitated, playing it safe rather than risking error. Also notice how Brother Chen created a safe space for you to try, guiding without controlling, allowing you the dignity of your own experience while preventing serious harm. This is how wise teachers function. The path winds upward now, leading to a viewpoint higher on the mountain. The climb requires more effort, and conversation pauses as you both focus on the ascent. The physical exertion feels good after periods of sitting meditation. The body too teaches wisdom, the elder observes as you climb. Notice how it naturally finds efficient ways to move on this uneven path. It doesn't fight gravity or terrain, but works with these conditions. You realize you've been unconsciously adjusting your gait to the mountain path, shorter steps on the steeper sections, shifting weight differently on loose versus solid ground. Your body intuitively understands how to respond to conditions. Our bodies often know what our thinking minds forget, the elder continues. They remember how to flow with conditions rather than fight against them. This natural wisdom is what spiritual practice helps us recover in all aspects of life. You reach a flat area that offers a spectacular view of the valley below and mountains beyond. The afternoon sun casts long shadows across the landscape, emphasizing the contours of the land. From this height, patterns become visible that couldn't be seen from below, the way rivers follow natural depressions, how forests grow in certain patterns determined by soil and sun exposure. From here we gain perspective, the elder says as you both catch your breath. Similarly, these teachings offer a vantage point from which to observe life's patterns. We begin to recognize how certain actions consistently lead to certain results. You notice how the sanctuary itself is positioned to work with the mountain's natural features, nestled into a protected area, oriented to capture sunlight, situated near natural springs. Nothing fights against the conditions. Everything works harmoniously with what is. When you understand that everything contributes to your growth, arising from conditions, you stop fighting reality, the elder explains. Instead, like the sanctuary's architects, you learn to work skillfully with conditions as they are. A hawk circles overhead, riding thermal currents with minimal effort. It doesn't fight against the air, but understands intuitively how to use these invisible patterns to soar. This is the freedom true practice offers, the elder says, watching the hawk. Not freedom from conditions, that's impossible, but freedom within conditions. The wisdom to navigate life's currents, like that hawk, with minimal struggle and maximal harmony. The sun begins its descent toward the western mountains, casting longer shadows across the landscape. Your teacher suggests heading back to the sanctuary for the evening meditation and meal. The downhill journey requires different muscles and different awareness than the climb up. Notice how descending presents its own challenges, the elder observes as you carefully navigate a steep section. In life too, ease and achievement can sometimes be as challenging to navigate skillfully as difficulty and struggle. You consider this wisdom, how reaching goals or obtaining desires doesn't automatically bring lasting happiness. Sometimes achieving what you thought you wanted creates unexpected new challenges. The sages taught that attachment to outcomes, even positive ones, creates discontent, the elder continues. When we cling to how we think things should be, rather than working skillfully with how they are, we create inner conflict. Back at the sanctuary, preparations for evening activities are underway. One elder strikes a large bell, its resonant tone signaling the transition from day's work to evening practice. Others light lanterns as daylight begins to fade. Before evening meditation, your teacher says, I want to address another aspect of why everything contributes to your growth. This concerns how we respond to life's difficulties. They lead you to a small side garden where stone lanterns create pools of warm light in the gathering dusk. The atmosphere is peaceful, conducive to deeper conversation. Throughout life, everyone faces challenges that seem meaningless or unfair. They begin. Illness, loss, betrayal, failure, experiences that can make us question whether life has purpose at all. You think about your own difficult experiences, times when suffering seemed random and cruel. Profound wisdom doesn't claim that suffering doesn't exist or doesn't matter, the elder clarifies. The first truth acknowledges that suffering is real, but this teaching offers a perspective that transforms how we relate to difficulty. A cool evening breeze stirs the garden, carrying the scent of pine and distant rain. You draw your robe closer around your shoulders. When we understand that everything happens according to conditions, they continue, we stop seeing difficulties as random punishments. Instead, we recognize them as the natural unfolding of complex processes, many influenced by our own past choices and current responses. This perspective shifts something fundamental, from seeing yourself as a helpless victim of circumstance to recognizing your role in both creating and responding to conditions. More importantly, the elder adds, this understanding reveals that difficulties themselves have purpose. They are not meaningless, even when painful. They offer precisely the conditions needed for certain kinds of growth that couldn't happen otherwise. They reach down to pick up a small stone from the garden path, smooth and rounded from years of exposure to elements. This stone was once rough and angular, they explain, placing it in your palm. Through friction with water and other stones, it gradually became smooth. What might have seemed like damage, being tumbled and scraped, actually revealed its inherent beauty. You feel the stone's perfect smoothness, understanding the metaphor. Perhaps life's friction serves a similar purpose, wearing away rough edges to reveal something more essential underneath. The most difficult experiences often create the conditions for our greatest growth, the elder continues, not because suffering itself is good, but because it challenges our habitual patterns and forces us to develop new capacities. You reflect on how your own challenging experiences, painful as they were, led to important insights and developments that might not have happened otherwise. When facing difficulty, they advise, try shifting from "why is this happening to me?" to "what might this be preparing me for? What qualities is this helping me develop?" This simple reframing transforms how you experience challenges. The Ayas garden lanterns glow more prominently as daylight continues to fade. Their warm light seems to represent the wisdom that can illuminate even the darkest experiences. Everything contributes to your growth, the elder reiterates, not because of some predetermined plan, but because each experience arises from conditions and simultaneously creates conditions for what comes next. Nothing is random, nothing is wasted. Everything serves your development if you have eyes to see it. The sanctuary bell rings again, signaling the evening meditation session. You follow your teacher to the main hall where retreatants gather, taking their places on cushions arranged in neat rows. Candles and incense create an atmosphere conducive to inner exploration. For this evening practice, the elder explains, quietly as you settle onto your cushion, we'll focus on cultivating equanimity, the quality of mind that remains balanced, regardless of whether experiences are pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. You adjust your posture, finding the now familiar balance between alertness and relaxation. The day's conversations and experiences have prepared you for deeper practice. Begin by bringing awareness to your breath, the elder instructs. Allow your breathing to find its natural rhythm without forcing or controlling. Simply observe the sensations of breathing with gentle attention. Around you, the other retreatants sit in perfect stillness, their collective presence creating a palpable field of concentrated awareness. You close your eyes, tuning into your breath as instructed. As your mind settles, the teacher continues in a soft voice that somehow carries throughout the hall. Expand your awareness to include sensations in your body. Notice areas of comfort or discomfort without trying to change them. Simply be aware. You scan your body, noticing various sensations. Pressure where you contact the cushion, a slight ache in your lower back, warmth in your hands, coolness on your face. Each sensation simply is what it is, neither good nor bad in itself. Now notice your emotional state, the elder guides. Are you feeling calm, anxious, peaceful, impatient? Whatever emotions are present, allow them to be without judgment or resistance. You discover a mixture of feelings, interest in these new teachings, a lingering uneasiness about problems back home, appreciation for this unusual opportunity. The instruction to observe without judgment helps you see these emotions as passing experiences rather than defining realities. Expand your awareness further to include thoughts passing through your mind, the elder continues. Watch them arise and pass without getting caught in their stories. See them as clouds moving through the sky of your awareness. This practice reveals how busy your mind remains despite the peaceful environment. Plans, memories, questions, judgments, a constant stream of mental activity. Yet, with growing mindfulness, you can observe this stream without being swept away by it. Now, the elder says after several minutes of this observation, contemplate the nature of equanimity. When pleasant experiences arise, notice any tendency to grasp or cling to them. When unpleasant experiences arise, notice any tendency to resist or avoid them. When neutral experiences arise, notice any tendency toward boredom or seeking distraction. You observe these tendencies in your own mind, how certain sensations, emotions, or thoughts trigger automatic reactions of attraction or aversion. Equanimity is the balance that comes from understanding that all experiences, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, arise according to conditions and will pass away according to conditions, the elder explains. Nothing needs to be grasped, Nothing needs to be pushed away. Everything can simply be known with clear awareness. This teaching connects directly to your earlier discussions about impermanence and cause and effect. If everything arises due to conditions and will pass away when conditions change, then clinging to pleasant experiences or fighting against unpleasant ones makes little sense. When we truly understand that everything contributes to our growth, the elder continues, equanimity develops naturally. We stop taking experiences so personally. We recognize that pleasant and unpleasant alike arise from complex conditions, not because we deserve reward or punishment. This perspective offers a profound freedom from the exhausting cycle of craving pleasant experiences and avoiding unpleasant ones. Perhaps peace comes not from controlling what happens, but from how you relate to whatever happens. As we sit in these final minutes, the elder instructs, practice meeting each arising experience, whether sensation, emotion, or thought, with this balanced awareness, not preferring, not rejecting, just knowing with clarity. The hall falls, silent except for the occasional sounds of breathing and distant sanctuary bells. You practice as instructed, watching the parade of sensations, emotions, and thoughts with growing equanimity. When pleasant experiences arise, you observe without clinging. When unpleasant experiences arise, you observe without rejecting. When neutral experiences arise, you observe without seeking distraction. Something subtle shifts in your awareness, a spaciousness that wasn't there before. It's as if you're watching the weather of your inner experience without being stormed upon by it. This doesn't remove the experiences themselves, but transforms your relationship to them. After what might be minutes or might be much longer, time seems fluid in deep meditation. A small bell rings 3 times, signaling the end of the formal practice. The elder's voice returns, gentle yet clear. As we conclude this evening meditation, recognize that the awareness you've cultivated is always available to you. In every circumstance, pleasant or difficult, you can access this equanimity, this understanding that all experiences arise from conditions and will pass according to their nature. You open your eyes slowly, the meditation hall coming back into focus. Candles flicker, creating dancing shadows on the walls. Other retreatants begin to stir, some stretching subtly after the period of stillness. Carry this practice into your evening activities, the elder suggests. Notice how experiences continue to arise and pass according to conditions. Notice your habitual reactions of grasping and rejecting. See if you can maintain this balanced awareness through changing circumstances. After meditation, the sanctuary follows a simple evening routine. A light meal is served in the same mindful manner as lunch. Afterward, some retreatants gather in small groups for quiet conversation, while others retire to their quarters for study or rest. Your teacher invites you to join them for tea in a small room overlooking the sanctuary garden. Lanterns illuminate the pathways below, where a few retreatants still move about completing evening tasks. The tea is served simply, just hot water poured over green leaves in small, unadorned cups. No sugar, no milk, nothing to mask the natural flavor. Even this simple experience demonstrates impermanence and changing conditions, the elder observes. As you integrate these teachings, use them to increase compassion, not judgment. The air here feels particularly pure, alive with the energy of growth and stillness. Natural environments often make these teachings more accessible, the elder observes. Interconnection and impermanence are plainly visible here for anyone with eyes to see. You notice how different the forest feels from the carefully tended sanctuary gardens. Here, life expresses itself with less apparent order, yet perfect ecological intelligence. dead trees becoming nurse logs for new growth, fungi decomposing fallen branches, insects and birds maintaining balance through their feeding patterns. In these teachings, we don't see nature as separate from ourselves, your teacher explains as you walk. The same principles that govern these forest processes govern our experience. We too are natural systems responding to conditions. The path crosses a small stream via stepping stones. Recent rain has increased its flow, making 5 part of the natural unfolding of conditions, provides another perfect illustration of the teaching. So how do we develop this wisdom in daily life, you ask, eager for practical guidance? Through both formal practice and moment-to-moment awareness, the elder answers. Meditation trains the mind to observe without immediately judging or reacting. Daily mindfulness applies this training to ordinary experiences. They pick up a small pebble from the path, turning it over in their palm. When something happens, especially something challenging, pause before reacting. In that pause, ask these questions. What conditions led to this situation? What would happen if I resist this reality? What response would create more positive conditions moving forward? The simplicity of this practice belies its power. Just the habit of pausing before reacting could transform many difficult situations in your life. Also helpful is regularly reflecting on past experiences where initial judgments proved limited, the elder suggests, times when apparent misfortunes led to unexpected growth or when seeming successes created unforeseen complications. This builds confidence in the wisdom of suspended judgment. You think about experiences in your own life that seemed devastating when they occurred, but later revealed hidden benefits. Jobs lost that led to better opportunities, relationships ended that created space for greater growth, plans failed that redirected you toward more fulfilling paths. Everything truly does happen for a reason, the elder reiterates, unfolding according to innumerable conditions, most beyond anyone's control or complete understanding. When we grasp this truth, not just intellectually, but experientially, we find freedom from the exhausting cycle of attachment and aversion that creates so much unnecessary suffering. As midday approaches, clouds begin gathering over the distant mountains, suggesting afternoon rain might be coming. Your teacher notices your glance toward the changing sky. Weather forms a perfect example of our teaching, they observe. Countless conditions, temperature, pressure, humidity, wind patterns, interact to create what we experience as a single event, rain. No one controls these conditions, yet they unfold according to natural laws, not random chance. The sanctuary bell rings, signaling the midday meal. Retreatants begin moving toward the dining hall, their various morning activities, concluding in synchrony. Let's join the others, your teacher suggests. The afternoon meal provides another opportunity to practice mindfulness, to experience directly how everything, even the simple act of eating, happens for specific reasons according to conditions. As you walk together along stone pathways, the elder continues exploring the practical application of these teachings. Understanding that everything contributes to your growth doesn't mean we become passive, they emphasize. We still act, but with greater wisdom. We work with conditions rather than against them, cultivating causes likely to lead to beneficial effects. You enter the dining hall where retreatants are taking their places in the same ordered, mindful manner you observed yesterday. The simple room contains no decorations or distractions, just low tables, cushions, and the necessities for the meal. Before we eat, the elder whispers as you take your place, observe the entire process that brings this food before us. The sunshine, rain, and soil that nourished the plants. the farmers who tended and harvested them, those who transported, stored, and prepared these simple ingredients, the sanctuary economy that procures what we cannot cultivate ourselves. Following the midday meal, many retreatants retire for a brief rest during the hottest part of the day. Your teacher suggests using this time for walking meditation in ease, a covered portico that offers shade while allowing air to circulate freely. Walking meditation provides another method for experiencing how everything happens according to conditions, they explain. As you begin walking slowly side by side, pay attention to the complex coordination required for this seemingly simple activity. You bring awareness to the process of walking, the shifting of weight, the lifting of the foot, the movement through space, the placing down. Countless muscles, nerves, and brain functions work together to create what we usually take for granted as the single action of walking. Notice how each step depends on the previous step and creates conditions for the next, the elder instructs. This is how all of life unfolds, each moment arising from previous conditions and simultaneously creating conditions for what follows. 15. The covered walkway circles the main meditation hall, offering glimpses of the courtyard garden through evenly spaced columns. Your walking tempo is much slower than normal, not artificially slow, but paced to allow full awareness of each movement. When walking normally, we rarely notice these complex processes, the elder observes. Similarly, in daily life, we seldom perceive the intricate web of causes and conditions creating each moment. We see results without recognizing their origins. Rain begins falling as predicted, creating a gentle percussion on the tiled roof above. The timing feels perfect. The protection of the covered walkway arranged precisely for this condition. Life functions more harmoniously when we align with rather than fight against conditions, the elder continues as you walk, like being in this covered walkway during rain. We didn't stop the rain from happening, but wisdom anticipated the due condition and created appropriate shelter. 16. You complete several circuits in comfortable silence, the rhythm of walking becoming meditative in itself. The rain intensifies, then gradually eases, demonstrating again how all conditions arise, exist temporarily, then transform. As the rain clears, your teacher guides you to continue the day's exploration. Let's visit the sanctuary library, they suggest. There's something there that will help deepen our understanding. The library occupies a quiet corner of the sanctuary complex, a long room with high windows that allow natural light to illuminate ancient texts without the damaging effects of direct sunlight. Shelves line the walls, containing manuscripts, scrolls and books in various languages, some appearing centuries old. A few retreatants sit at simple tables, reading or copying texts with careful attention. The atmosphere is one of focused scholarship, yet remains deeply peaceful. Your teacher selects a large, worn volume from a shelf and places it on an empty table where you both sit. The book opens to reveal beautiful calligraphy brushed by hand on handmade paper. Though you cannot read the language, the text is clearly arranged in verses with occasional illustrations in faded ink. This contains the teachings about dependent arising, the elder explains, carefully turning pages yellowed with age. It expresses in detail why everything happens for a reason, how all phenomena arise, exist, and cease in dependence upon conditions. They find the passage they're seeking and translate. When this exists, that comes to be. With the arising of this, that arises. When this does not exist, that does not come to be. With the cessation of this, that ceases. The simplicity of these lines belies their profound implications. This teaching describes reality at all scales, the elder explains, from the formation of galaxies to the arising of a single thought in your mind. Nothing comes into being independently. Everything depends on conditions. You consider examples, how a plant depends on seed, soil, water, and sunlight, how a thought depends on prior experiences, current stimuli, and brain function, how a relationship depends on countless interactions and shared circumstances. This understanding transforms how we see ourselves, the elder continues. The separate, independent self we imagine is actually a process unfolding independence on countless conditions: physical, psychological, social, environmental. This perspective challenges your habitual sense of being a fixed, independent entity. If you exist as a process rather than a thing, continuously shaped by and shaping conditions, then the boundaries between self and world become much more permeable than usually imagined. When we recognize that we too happen for reasons, according to conditions, the elder explains, we hold our identity more lightly. We stop taking experiences so personally. We understand our thoughts, emotions, and reactions as conditioned processes rather than defining truths. The library's peaceful atmosphere seems to support this contemplation. The quiet rustle of turning pages, the gentle movements of retreatants, absorbed in study, the gradually shifting patterns of light as afternoon progresses. This understanding of dependent arising reveals why everything contributes to your growth in the deepest sense, the elder continues. Not because of divine plan or predetermined fate, but because nothing can exist or occur independently of conditions. They carefully close the ancient text, treating it with obvious reverence. The wise ones weren't expressing philosophy for its own sake. They taught this to liberate us from suffering, to show us how attachment to what cannot last creates distress, and how understanding these processes creates freedom. Outside the library windows, sunlight has returned after the rain. The moisture-laden air creates a particular quality of luminescence, with raindrops on leaves catching light like countless tiny jewels. Let's return to the garden, your teacher suggests. Nature often demonstrates these teachings more directly than words. In these teachings, we use the image of a vast, interconnected net to illustrate the interdependence of all things, the elder explains. Imagine an infinite net extending in all directions. At each intersection of threads hangs a perfect jewel that reflects all other jewels in the net. Each jewel contains the reflection of all other jewels, and each of those reflections contains all other reflections infinitely. This beautiful metaphor helps you visualize the teaching of interdependence, how everything exists in relationship to everything else, with no truly separate, independent phenomena. This understanding of interconnection is essential to grasping why everything contributes to your growth, the elder continues. Your actions affect others. Their actions affect you. Environmental conditions affect social systems. Social systems affect environmental conditions. Nothing exists or happens in isolation. The path leads to a small pond that has overflowed slightly from the rain. Water lilies float on its surface, drops of rain still visible on their perfectly water-repellent leaves. A frog rests partially submerged at the edge, its presence creating tiny ripples that spread across the water. Consider this pond, the elder suggests. It exists because of specific geography creating a depression, rainfall providing water, plant and animal life establishing balance. If any condition changes significantly, drought, pollution, removal of key species, the entire pond ecosystem transforms. They kneel beside the water, inviting you to do the same. Look closely at your reflection, they instruct. You lean forward, seeing your face wavering on the water's surface, distorted by subtle movements and ripples. Just as this reflection exists dependent on water, light, and your position, the elder explains. What you think of as yourself exists dependent on countless conditions: body, memories, relationships, environment, culture, language, ease. Change, any significant condition, and your experience of self transforms. This perspective challenges your habitual sense of being a fixed, independent entity. If you exist as a process rather than a thing, continuously shaped by conditions, then perhaps identity is more fluid than usually assumed. When we truly understand dependent arising, the elder continues, we hold our sense of self more lightly. We stop taking experiences so personally. We recognize thoughts, emotions, and reactions as conditioned processes rather than defining truths. 2. A dragonfly lands briefly on a reed extending from the pond, its iridescent wings catching sunlight before it darts away. Its brief visitation seems to illustrate the teaching perfectly. A momentary manifestation of countless conditions coming together, existing briefly, then transforming. This recognition transforms how we relate to suffering, the elder explains. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" as if suffering were personal punishment, we understand this is happening because conditions support it. This shift creates space for wise response rather than reactive struggle. You consider how differently you might approach difficulties with this perspective. Less personalization, less resistance, more focus on understanding conditions and cultivating skillful change where possible. The wise ones express this wisdom through 4 noble insights, your teacher explains as you both rise from beside the pond. The first acknowledges suffering exists. The second identifies craving and attachment as its cause. The third asserts that suffering can end when its causes end. The fourth outlines the practical path to this liberation. These insights frame a logical approach to human experience, identifying a problem, suffering, its cause, attachment, the possibility of resolution, cessation, and a method, the Eightfold Path. Let's explore how understanding that everything happens for a reason relates to these truths, the elder suggests. As you continue walking through the garden, the path ascends slightly, leading to a viewpoint overlooking both the sanctuary and the valley beyond. The afternoon sun casts long shadows across the landscape, emphasizing depth and contour. From this vantage point, patterns become visible that couldn't be discerned at ground level. The first noble insight simply acknowledges reality, the elder begins as you both settle on a stone bench. Suffering exists in human life. We experience physical pain, illness, aging, and loss. We face psychological distress, fear, loneliness, disappointment, grief. These experiences are universal, part of being human. 5. You reflect on your own encounters with suffering, from minor frustrations to profound losses. The acknowledgement feels honest, neither minimizing life's difficulties nor catastrophizing them. The wise ones didn't teach this to depress us, but to begin from honest recognition, the elder clarifies. Much like a healer must accurately diagnose an ailment before offering treatment, we must squarely face suffering's reality before finding its cessation. A cool breeze passes through the garden, causing leaves to flutter and flowers to sway. Even this simple movement reminds you of the constant change inherent in all conditions. The second noble insight identifies why suffering happens, your teacher continues. It arises from our habitual tendency to grasp at pleasant experiences and push away unpleasant ones. This explanation resonates with your experience. How often has suffering intensified, not because of what happened, but because of your desperate wish that reality be different than it is? When we don't understand that everything happens for a reason according to conditions, the elder explains, we take events personally. We demand that reality conform to our preferences. We cling to what's pleasant as if it could last forever. We fight against what's unpleasant as if rejection could make it disappear. The view from this height shows the sanctuary as part of a larger landscape, nested within mountains, forests, valleys, and sky. Similarly, your individual life exists within larger systems of cause and effect, stretching far beyond personal preferences. The third noble insight offers hope, the elder continues. When we understand that suffering arises from our relationship to experience rather than from experience itself, we discover the possibility of liberation. If clinging creates suffering, release creates freedom. 9. This teaching challenges conventional thinking. Most people seek happiness by trying to arrange external conditions perfectly, the right relationship, job, home, or achievements. But if suffering originates from how we relate to conditions rather than the conditions themselves, then freedom might be found through inner transformation rather than external control. The fourth noble insight provides the practical path. Your teacher explains. It outlines how to live from this understanding through right view, intention, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, and concentration. These 8 aspects work together, transforming how we perceive and respond to life's events. Be keen. The comprehensive nature of this path impresses you, addressing understanding, motivation, communication, behavior, work, energy, awareness, and mental cultivation, not a simplistic solution, but a complete reorientation to existence. When we truly understand that everything happens for a reason according to conditions, the elder continues, we naturally develop right view, the foundation of the entire path. We stop taking events personally, blaming others unfairly, or fighting against reality as it unfolds. T1. From your elevated vantage point, you watch clouds move across the valley, their shadows flowing over the landscape like water. The perspective makes it easier to see how all elements interact: sunlight, air currents, moisture, temperature, creating the constantly changing conditions below. Right view naturally leads to right intention, your teacher explains. When we understand how suffering arises from grasping and aversion, we naturally intend to cultivate release, goodwill, and harmlessness. 2. You consider how your own intentions might shift with deepening understanding, less driven by craving for specific outcomes, more oriented toward wisdom and compassion regardless of circumstances. These first 2 aspects of the path concern wisdom, the elder says. The next 3, right speech, right action, and right livelihood, concern ethical conduct. When we understand that everything happens for a reason according to conditions, we recognize how our words, actions, and work create ripples affecting ourselves and others. Birds soar in the valley below, riding invisible air currents with effortless grace. They neither fight against these conditions nor try to control them. They simply understand their nature and work with them skillfully. 4. The final 3 aspects, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration, concern mental development, your teacher continues. They train the mind to see clearly, remain present, and respond wisely rather than react habitually. 5. The sun begins its gradual descent toward the western mountains, the quality of light shifting subtly toward golden afternoon tones. This, too, reminds you of impermanence, how even the seemingly reliable sun appears to move through the sky, creating constantly changing conditions of light and shadow. This entire path emerges naturally from deeply understanding that everything happens for a reason, the elder summarizes. When we recognize that all phenomena arise, exist, and cease according to conditions, we stop fighting reality and start working skillfully within it. 36. As you sit together absorbing these teachings, a sanctuary bell rings in the distance, its clear tone signaling a transition in the day's schedule. Your teacher suggests returning to the main buildings for the afternoon meditation session. The teachings we've discussed are valuable intellectually, they explain as you descend the path, but their real power comes through direct experience in meditation practice. Back at the meditation hall, retreatants gather for the afternoon session. The atmosphere feels different from morning practice, perhaps because of the day's accumulated awareness or the particular quality of afternoon light filtering through paper windows. You take your place on a cushion, arranging your posture as instructed earlier, back straight but not rigid, hands resting in your lap, gaze softly lowered. The collective presence of practitioners creates a palpable field of concentrated awareness that seems to support your own practice. This afternoon, your teacher explains once all are settled, we'll explore a meditation that directly investigates dependent arising, how phenomena arise from conditions, exist temporarily, then cease as conditions change. They guide the initial settling of attention through breath awareness, allowing the mind to become more stable and clear. After several minutes of this foundational practice, they introduce the investigation. As you sit, notice how sensations arise in your body, they instruct. When you become aware of a particular sensation, perhaps pressure where you contact the cushion or warmth in your hands, investigate its nature. Does it remain constant or change? What conditions support its appearance? What happens as those conditions shift? You follow these instructions, bringing attention to bodily sensations with genuine curiosity. You notice a slight discomfort in your lower back that wasn't apparent earlier. As you observe without immediate reaction, you discover it's not a static experience, but a complex changing process. Moments of sharpness followed by dullness, intensifying then fading, moving slightly from place to place. Now expand your awareness to include emotions, the elder continues after several minutes. Notice what feelings are present, perhaps peace, restlessness, contentment, impatience. Observe how each emotion arises from specific conditions and changes as conditions change. 39. You discover a subtle anxiety present in your awareness, perhaps concern about correctly practicing these new instructions. As you observe this feeling with curiosity rather than judgment, you notice how it's supported by particular thoughts about doing it right. When attention shifts to simple observation rather than evaluation, the anxiety gradually transforms. Next, notice thoughts themselves, your teacher guides. Watch how they appear in consciousness, exist briefly, then dissolve to make space for new thoughts. Can you observe the conditions that give rise to particular thought patterns? 40. This observation reveals how your thoughts aren't random, but arise from specific conditions, external stimuli, bodily sensations, emotional states, previous thoughts, habitual patterns. No thought simply appears from nowhere. Each emerges from a complex web of conditions. Finally, expand awareness to notice consciousness itself, the elder suggests, their voice increasingly subtle as the meditation deepens. This awareness that knows sensations, emotions, and thoughts. Observe how it too arises according to conditions. When tired, consciousness takes on certain qualities. When concentrated, it manifests differently. 1. This level of observation feels more challenging, yet somehow more spacious. You begin to recognize how even your awareness itself isn't a fixed entity, but a dynamic process responding to changing conditions, clearer or duller, focused or scattered, expanded or contracted, depending on circumstances. In this investigation, the teacher explains quietly, we directly experience how everything happens for a reason, according to conditions. Nothing in our experience exists independently or remains unchanged. Everything flows in the continuous dance of arising and passing. Away 42. The meditation continues in silence. Each practitioner exploring this territory of direct observation, the collective energy of the whole supports sustained attention, making it easier to maintain awareness without distraction. After what might be 20 minutes or might be longer, time seems fluid in deep meditation. A small bell rings 3 times, signaling the session's conclusion. The elder offers final guidance as everyone gradually returns to ordinary awareness. Let this understanding of dependent arising infuse your entire experience, they suggest. When pleasant experiences arise, remember they exist because conditions support them and will change when conditions change. When difficult experiences arise, recognize they too depend on specific conditions and aren't permanent realities. 3. You open your eyes slowly, the meditation hall coming back into focus. Candles flicker, creating dancing shadows on the walls. Other retreatants shift slightly, some stretching subtly after the period of stillness. Carry this awareness into your evening activities, the elder concludes. Notice how everything you experience, from the taste of food to interactions with others to your own changing mental states, happens for specific reasons according to conditions. As retreatants disperse to various evening activities, your teacher invites you to join them for a walk outside the sanctuary walls. The surrounding forest offers another perspective on our teachings, they explain as you pass through the main gate. The path descends gently through pine forest, the ground soft with needles that cushion each step. The air smells of resin and earth, rich and vitally alive. Bird song provides an 45 intermittent soundtrack to your walk, along with the subtle sounds of wind in branches and your own footsteps. Natural environments often make these teachings more accessible, the elder observes. Interconnection and impermanence are plainly visible here for anyone with eyes to see. 6. You notice how different the forest feels from the carefully tended sanctuary gardens. Here, life expresses itself with less apparent order, yet perfect ecological intelligence.